What's up YouTube? My name is Uncle Smokey, and this is Uncle Smokey Stock Trades. And before I start this video, I would like to say, I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. So please take what I say with a grain of salt, and do your own DD. Today we're going to talk about ticker symbol MMAT, Men and Materials Inc. We're going to break down the TA, we're going to look at the options chain, we're going to go through both Ortex and Fintel. We got a little bit of news in the market today, which was actually great for us and the vast majority of the overall market. And of course, at the end of the video, we're not going to have my prediction today because it is Friday. We'll get to that on Sunday. So, before I get into any of that, first things first, check out the new shirt. So, my wife, as you all know, makes me a whole bunch of apparel, and I'm absolutely proud to wear it. This is one of the ones she made me. She's got that cool little cricket thing. She puts little things on the sleeves. This is the like, subscribe. This over here is a, nice little leaf. And the back, I'll show you another shirt she's made me. Looks like this. It's got the labeling and everything on there. It's pretty nice, huh? This is another design that she did for me. It's pretty cool. That is absolutely awesome. It says in the blue, because you probably can't see it, just a smooth-brained ape, I come in peace. So I'm going to be sporting some of this stuff at the AWE conference, of course, happening next week. And if anybody's going to be out there, if anybody's watching that's going to be out there, make sure you find me, spot me. I would love to meet everybody that's there. I've actually been on this app that they've given us. I'm going to show you a little bit of that on Sunday, the app that they've given all the people that are involved with the AWE, whether it be the people that have the booths or the journalists, reporters, things like that. We all have access to this app where we can schedule meetings and stuff like that. We can actually communicate through this app. It's a really cool thing that they've set up for us. Now, let's go ahead and get on to the technicals, what everybody really wants to see. They don't want to hear me ramble on about my vacation coming up, right? Right. Okay, so we opened up the day today at $4.93. We hit a low of $4.79, a high of $4.99, and closed the day out at $4.99. That is up 2.25% on the day, and that is on a very weak 5.39 million in volume. And it's actually pretty amazing that we had the movement that we had today on such low volume. Generally, when we have low volume move into the stock, we don't have such an upwards day. And in fact, I did think first thing in the morning we were going to see that sterling mark and hope for a nice little bounce, but we didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't see that crazy bounce that we get off that. We just saw a steady movement upwards in a level trajectory, basically just moving up slowly, which is great. We tapped 480 and ran back up. Cool. Let's move into the next time frame because there's nothing really impressive there. This is actually a little bit more impressive, and the reason being is it shows you the volume that we had in the very first part of the day. In the very first hour and a half of volume, let's call it 2 hours, we had about 2 million in volume. And then we followed that up at the very end of the day. In fact, the very last hour of trading was almost 1 million in volume. So your vast majority of your volume today came in the very first hour and a half to 2 hours and the very last hour of trading, which is basically just showing that the shorts had their way in the beginning. They did short the piss out of it in the very, very beginning. And then we were able to buy it back up. 480 has shown up as a technical level of support a few times before, but it's also shown up as resistance. So I'm actually really glad that we were able to stay above that today. And then again, we traded sideways for a little while across the 490 channel, which we love. We like this channel. And I have said before, $5 is going to show up as a technical level of resistance. It's psychological and technical. So, and it did twice, once and twice. And we consolidated for the last hour across that time. But again, we consolidated with pretty high volume in that last hour compared to the volume we had in the overall day and what we have been seeing in the recent past. All right, and there I go. I'm talking to my microphone again. You guys are over here. Hi. Okay, let's move on to the one-day chart. Let's get these lines out of the way so we can see what we're talking about. All right, so quick analysis of this because I haven't done a whole lot with it yet. All righty, easy peasy. So we got a hammer candle, guys, right here. This is a nice big old fat hammer candle at the end of Friday, the end of the trading week. Also, remember back here we had the Golden Cross in the MAs, where the 50-day MA has crossed over the 200-day MA. We have mounted the 200-day MA, and we have traded across it for about 4 days now, which is extremely, extremely bullish. This is just setting up for the very next leg of increased movement. I'd never want to say whether it's going to be up or down because nobody really knows. But when you start seeing consolidation across the 200, generally it's bullish and means it's going to start moving up. Also, you can look down here at the histogram, the MACD and the histogram. MACD is still carrying over the signal line, moving away from it. It's actually pulling away from the signal line, which is fantastic. That's bullish. Just keep that in mind. Anytime the MACD is above the signal and pulling away, that means it's got upward momentum. Also, your histogram right here, it's getting to be a little bit bigger of a bar. Basically just showing that there's more buying pressure stepping in, and we have increased the movement. I mean, it's all it is. Also, RSI is hooking up and currently sitting at about 52, which is great. This is a very neutral zone, right where we want to be. Anything between the 70 and the 30 on the RSI, of course, is neutral, but when we can hover right in the middle there in the 50s, that's absolutely fantastic because it gives us a lot of room to run before we start becoming overbought, okay? So just keep that in mind that when we're hovering here in the middle and we're hooking up, that's bullish as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on into the options chain. So here we are at Thinkorswim. Another very bullish day in the options chain. Again, I've only seen one bearish day since we've made the merge, and that was a crazy day. This was a very bullish day. Sorry. We had 95% calls, 5% puts. Calls at 8,272, puts at 491. Grand total of 8,763 contracts traded today. And always keep that in mind that there are contracts in total, not just buys. It's buys and sells. The IV is sitting at 135.85%, which is nice and low. It's inviting. Now, with that being said, I do want to give everybody the move I am going to be making on Monday morning. I actually have 2 calls I'm looking at. First and foremost, I am looking at the $5 strike for December 17th. We're sitting right at the $5 mark. With a pullback on Monday morning to the $4.90 mark, I'm going to buy in 10 of these contracts. I'm on vacation, so I can do it first thing in the morning. If it does not pull back, I will not be buying these December 17th contracts because that means it's going to be moving forward and they're going to be getting relatively expensive. I might buy 1 or 2, but I will not be buying 10. With that being said, providing we don't get the pullback, I will be moving into the January 21st expiration, and I will be absorbing myself down here. Sorry, I saw a little earlier, the price has changed right there. The $8 strike. I do foresee some nice movement in the future. Remember, I'm not trying to buy these far out strikes to make $1 million. I'm looking for a good 15 to 30% movement in the stock, which will give me a good profit on the overall option. And I'll cash out. I only plan on looking to be in this thing for, call it, a couple weeks tops. It's far enough out in the expirations that the time decay, the theta, doesn't have a whole lot of play on it as of yet. With that being said, back to the November 19th, you're starting to deal with some serious time decay. The theta is going to start really kicking in come next week because you only have a small amount of time to trade these options. So keep that in mind, that you're going to want to start thinking about exercising or rolling or cashing out in your options chain for the upcoming expiration date of November 19th. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Options are going to be coming expired. Start planning your next moves. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on to the next part, and that is, of course, Ortex. So, I did put out my morning briefing this morning, and I was a little bit wrong from yesterday. I said yesterday I'd expect this to move up a little bit. Unfortunately, it did pull back, but not a whole lot. No big deal there. 88.91% in the utilization. Let's hit refresh. Let's see if any of these numbers updated. 88.91% in utilization. Cost to borrow is sitting at 3.64%. The days to cover is 2.24 days. The shares on loan is currently 35.29 million shares, and that is 25.3% of the free float. Now, take a look over here. It looks like we had an update. This just updated just the other day. I want to say actually this morning possibly, which I have found that it typically updates on a Friday, and then the failures to deliver update the following week. Showing that we are currently at 21.5 million shares short interest. This is reported shares. Reported, guys. Keep that always in mind. Reported. They're not going to report the things they don't want you to know. All right, so just take that with a grain of salt. This is just a gauge, which is 12.5% of the free float. Also showing that there was a big return today, 8%. Here's the next part I've got to remind you of. Just because they returned shares doesn't mean that they were shorted shares. They were just borrowed shares. And you can see that in the estimated short interest. It says that they returned 4.69 million shares and they borrowed an additional 1.6 million shares, showing a grand total of 2.83 million shares returned compared to borrow. But what you're not noticing is that this doesn't add up to that number. It does not mean that they returned shorted shares. It doesn't mean that they were covering their position. In fact, with no real run-up at all, there was no coverage. They were just returning shares. And I'm going to explain why I think that is right now before we go any further. To do that, though, we have to move over to Fintel real quick. So, I talked about this last out of the video. The current insider shares is 213,057,698 shares. That is 75% of the overall outstanding float. The whole entire outstanding shares. 213 million of them are already consumed. Not to mention, when you come over here to the institutional buyers, which I've got to go to another section for that. Sorry about that. Owners, institutional owners. There we go. They've got an additional 22 million shares. That brings the free float all the way down to 45 million shares. That's a GameStop situation, okay? We're working with 45 million shares. If the insiders own 75%, and then your institutionals are 21 million, which is another 10, or call it 7.5%, 8% of the free float, yeah. Guys, that is why you see them returning the hell out of some shares that they never shorted in the market. They have to, because if they don't start returning them now, they're going to start getting beat with costs. This cost to borrow will start flying up, especially when the data sets start rolling in. When the exchanges really start showing that these numbers are real, and that when all of this stuff really starts factoring in, you're really going to see these shorts really get scared. And that's, of course, just my opinion. I could be absolutely wrong on that. But according to the numbers, I don't think I am. Anyhow, let's move on. Let's go to Fintel and talk about Fintel the way we want to talk about Fintel, the right way. So, short squeeze score is currently sitting at 76.09 out of 100, and that is 375 out of the 5,500 stocks that are on this list. The short shares available are currently 600,000. Let's make sure that's right. Let's hit refresh. It's right. 600,000 shares currently available to be lent out from a leading prime brokerage. And remember, I think that is Citadel all the way. It could be one of the other ones, but yeah, they're the most crooked. And also keep this in mind, this hasn't been updated in a very long time, so this could be completely off. There could be way more, there could be way less. We don't really know. And until they start updating it a little bit faster, and I don't blame Fintel for this, I blame the exchanges, because they're the ones that are giving them the information. I am 100% positive that Fintel is putting out the info as they get it. But you'll also notice that they did do a heck of a lot of borrowing and returning over the course of the last 18 to 24 hours. All right, so let's move down. 2.27 is the short borrow fee rate. You'll notice that has gone up a little bit, up and down, I suppose. But it is moving, so it shows that the shorts are moving in and out, the volatility is coming in and out, and the stock's basically doing what it needs to do until we see our next leg up. Down here, we've got the FINRA volume, which, as we know, FINRA is the dark pool, and it almost always makes up half of our volume. Now, you'll notice today, it did not make up half of our volume. With our volume being over 5 million, this should be over 2.5 million. So, that means that there was a little bit more volume in, call it the NASDAQ or something like that, not the dark pools. But, with that being said, there still was over half of the short volume, over half of the FINRA volume shorted, showing 50% of the FINRA volume was short. Now, with that being said, because we had a decent day, I don't think this number is going to be too much different than what we see up there over here. In fact, it might even take a step back a little bit. It might reduce some. I doubt it, but it's possible. Looking at maybe 51, 52 over there. And we already talked about our failures to deliver yesterday. Nothing else has changed. And here you go. So they're showing 15.41% of the free float is shorted. That's pretty high, guys. You're talking up there, as far as percentage-wise with your AMCs, your BB, your Blackberries, your Bed Bath & Beyond. Well, probably not that high. Anyhow, you get where I'm going at. It's definitely moved up. 15% is extremely high. Anything over 10% is actually pretty crazy high when you're talking about free float, an available, tradable free float of 45 million. That's kind of crazy, in my opinion. Anyhow, let's move on to the next section. Insider trading, which we've talked about this already. I don't think I need to concentrate on this too much. We already know that there's 213 million shares being held by the insiders, and that adjustment of numbers is all because of what happened not too long ago with Anna Lambert and Thomas Gordon Welch. When they had the big purchase, each one of them got shares. It factors into the insider trading and created that float discrepancy until it got cleared up. And like I said, that clears up once every so many days. So that's why you saw it fix itself yesterday. And why you see Ortex numbers changed yesterday. When it reports, they report. Institutional ownership, we already did that. We need to go back to the buyers column. There we go. New buyer. All right, so hurry up. There we go. Okay. New buyer, nothing major, 300 shares, but welcome. Bay State Wealth Management, LLC, welcome to the club with your 300 shares. I hope you're diamond balls like the rest of us. We don't need any more paper hands in here. We really want the holders to hold. We're looking for a squeeze in the near future, as a matter of fact. I've said it time and time again. I'm looking for the squeeze to happen after we get up into the teens, low teens, get above 10, get above 12, and then let this thing fly. And in all honesty, I think that's going to happen when we finally find out what's going to happen with either the dividend or after December 28th, when we find out what the spinoff will do. And always keep this in mind, those MMTLP shares, once all of this happens, that will all go away. You will retain your shares. Don't be confused. I'm not saying you're going to lose your shares. You're going to retain your MMTLP shares, but they'll be converted over to whatever the new dividend stuff information will be, which we do know that the Oil Co. Holdings was created a while back, and I do think that that is going to have to do with anything spinoff related. If it goes into a spinoff, I think that is where the funds would go, would be into the Oil Co. Holdings, and those shares would be distributed to the Series A preferred the preferred stockholders that already hold the preferred Series A shares. Wow. Got it out the second time, right? All right, moving on. Institutional sellers. We did have a few today. I don't think any of them were of any major consequence. Maybe the Ursa fund, since they did pull out like everything. But let's find out. What was the big thing? Here's the call. They're now holding 0 shares from, what did they have beforehand? 2,650 shares. That's not a big deal. That's no biggie. Let's see, what's this one? So it's the same thing, because it's the same company. Oh, we've talked about that. So anytime that you have a company like this where they have multiple positions because they have multiple funds, you're going to see that it'll wind up all being one fund. Okay, jobs report. So this is the last thing I want to talk about. I did put a tweet out first thing this morning. I saw the jobs report hit, and I was freaking stoked. I was actually expecting a little bit bad news. That's what I was expecting. So they were expecting 450,000 in increased payroll from non-farm payroll. It hit at 531,000, which is absolutely outstanding. The unemployment rate did fall to 4.6%, which I do believe was a 4.8%, 4.9% a year ago. And then also, if we scroll down a little further, showing that private payrolls are even stronger, rising 604,000 as a loss of 73,000 government jobs pulled down the headline number. So overall, the jobs report was absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure a lot of people saw a little bit of green in their portfolio today. Now, I'm not going to say that it was a recovery from all the red that we have been seeing lately, but it's nice to have a nice little turnaround to see that the economy might be actually shifting back to a semi-normal state. Now, I do know we've got a long way to go before that becomes a reality, but with some hopes in the horizon that we've got more job openings happening. You'll notice that leisure was a big one that increased their positions, which, as you know, with COVID going away a little bit, cruise liners and airlines and travel is starting to happen. You've got holidays coming up. You can expect for travel and leisure to really start picking up their game, because they can do it again. People can fly, people can sleep in hotels. I'm getting ready to fly. I'm getting ready to sleep in a hotel. It's gonna be great fun. Anyway, with that being said, that's all I got for today. And I did say it was gonna be a short video, and from the looks of it, it's 2 minutes shorter than normal. Like, subscribe, make sure that you comment for the algorithm below, and do what you got to do to make sure that everybody is seeing these videos. Whether it be me, Sterling, Terry, anybody who covers Metamaterials Inc., all the information that you can get out there to people, the better. Also, let everybody know that the metaverse is real and it's just around the corner. I've been digging deep into this stuff, and my mind is blown, and I'm going to be covering all that for you here very soon. Peace.